Chapter 8. Mr. Zarwood's tiny round eyes burned into mine like lasers. Beneath the stiff white mustache, he muttered angrily to himself, his face set in a deep frown. I swallowed hard. I can't tell him the truth, I decided. I can't tell him that I stole his card game. I can't tell anyone that I'm responsible for the attack on Nelson's house. By Mrs. Zarwood, the police officers were shaking their heads. Clustered in small groups, the neighbors were muttering in low voices, their expressions confused. I don't know anything, I told Mrs. Arwit in a trembling voice. My thudding heart seemed to rise into my throat, choking me. I coughed, took a deep breath. I don't know anything about your deck of cards, I repeated. Then I spun away and started to run over the slick, wet grass. I had to get away. I had to think about this. I had to think hard to decide what I should do. I didn't wait for Emily and Kyle. I didn't turn back. I kept running until I reached the safety of the house. Then I ran upstairs, slamming my bedroom door behind me. Breathing hard, my entire body drenched in a cold sweat, I dropped down on the edge of my bed, head spinning, heart pounding. I shut my eyes and saw the bold lettering on the card game box. Be afraid. Be very afraid. That night, I dreamed about Mr. Zarwood, dressed all in white, a white suit, white shirt, white tie, all as white as his hair and mustache. He rose up in front of me. In the dream, he lifted his hands high above his head and boomed, "Be afraid, Connor." And then he turned to the door and waved his arms as if directing traffic. I saw myself sit up in bed, and I saw my startled expression. I heard heavy footsteps outside my room, grunts and cries and loud moans. Mr. Zorowit waved his arms harder. He tossed back his head, his white hair falling to his shoulders, and let out a booming laugh. A knight in shiny gray armor tromped into my room, his broad shield banged against the doorway. "Hey, go away!" I cried out. In the dream, I knew I was dreaming, but fear choked my throat, and I uttered a shrill scream as other figures followed the clumping knight. Goths and crows, bearded dwarf creatures with animal snouts, masked knights, creatures with pig heads and human bodies. Tossing back their heads, they howled and groaned and barked like animals. So loud I covered my ears. But I couldn't drown out the sound of their groans and cries as they began to fight, slashing at each other with swords and long-bladed gleaming daggers, heaving themselves, banging armored chest against armored chest, thrusting their shields in front of them, screaming and crying. They tumbled over my bed, slashed the window curtains, sent everything on my desk clattering to the floor. A battling crow sent a masked knight toppling backwards to my bedroom window. The glass shattered and fell into 1,000 pieces. A sword ripped through the wallpaper. "Get out! Get out! Get out!" I shrieked, a desperate, terrified chant. "Get out! Get out!" I woke up screaming and trembling, drenched with sweat, my pajama shirt soaked wetly to my back. I sat up in bed, wide awake. Orange morning sunlight streamed through the curtains. The window. Not broken. Not broken. The wallpaper not slashed. I breathed a sigh of relief and started to climb to my feet, but I dropped back down when I saw my floor. The carpet, stained with mud, muddy footprints, dozens of them, big and small. Muddy footprints caked over the rug. "No!" A terrified cry escaped my throat. "It's the cards," I murmured out loud. I hugged myself, trying to force myself to stop shaking. "It's the card game." I had to get rid of the card game. I knew it wasn't safe while I still had it. I had to return to Mrs. Arwood. I pulled myself to my feet. "I'll return them right now," I decided. "I'll get dressed and run them over to Mrs. Arwood's house. Maybe I'll just leave the deck on the front stoop. Yes, that's it. No need to talk to him. No need to hear his lecture about how stealing is wrong. I know all that. I've learned my lesson." I began to feel a little better, a little more steady. I had a plan. I knew what to do. I pulled on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. My hands trembled as I tied my sneakers. I took a deep breath. Connor, you're going to be okay, I told myself. You're going to return the cards, and your life will be totally normal again. Where did I leave the cards? On my dresser? Okay, no problem. In a few minutes, everything will be fine again. I crossed the room to my dresser and gasped. The cards were gone.